Dear students, moving further to the integrated pest management, prevention and suppression. Now, prevention is adoption of measures to reduce the chance of occurrence of pest. Suppression is reducing the impact of the pests. Prevention and suppression can be done by applying the different techniques. It is a method of preventing the spreading of harmful organisms by hygiene measures, that is, by regular cleansing of machinery and equipment. One of the methods of prevention and suppression is crop rotation, where it would break the life cycle of the pests. Prevention and suppression also include use of adequate cultivation techniques. For example, stale seedbed technique, sowing dates and densities, undersowing, conservation, tillage, pruning, and direct sowing. So, all these methods would help in the prevention and suppression. Preventive methods of IPM include the following: the natural enemies, host plant resistance, the cultural control, the legal control, that is, of course, the plant quarantine. All these we have already dealt with in details. The curative methods of IPM include the following, that is, physical and mechanical methods, inundative method releasing biocontrol agents, chemical insecticides, and the insect growth regulators, the IGR. Preventive methods can be used irrespective of the level of pest incidence. It can be followed as a routine even if the pest is at a low level. Curative methods have to be followed only when the pest attains economic threshold level. So, as I told you in the previous lecture, that it could be preventive or curative. So, once it's, when we talk about preventive, is that we already start using or employing the methods in the IPM, so that the attack of insects is minimized, is initially lowered, like by using the natural enemies. Natural enemies can be released in the area where that particular pest could attain a pest status. So as soon as it starts, the population of the pest starts increasing, the natural enemies start consuming them and maintain them at a lower level below the economic threshold. Similarly, the host plant resistance, and using a resistant strain of the plant so that the attack is initially minimized. Using the cultural practices, that is, that we use the crop rotation, we use the trap crops, and we use the thinning and pruning of the trees, so that we take all the precautions related to the cultural control practices and initially prevent the crop from the attack of insects, which then would attain a pest status. And of course, the legal control, that means the plant quarantine measures should be taken well in advance. So all these methods are preventive methods. But once the insect has attacked and attained a pest status, that is, it has crossed the economic threshold level, then what we need is, that would be the curative methods to take, that is, to cure the attack which has occurred on the crop. These would include the physical and mechanical methods, the release of biocontrol agents, the chemical use of chemicals made with the chemical insecticides or the growth regulators, and all these would be the curative methods. Non-chemical methods, these are prioritized over chemical methods if they can produce satisfactory results. As chemical methods are often not sustainable and create more pest problems, non-chemical methods are always preferred at first hand, as they are more sustainable and less biological and environmentally hazardous. Examples of non-chemical methods include soil solarization or biological control method. Use of live natural enemies is one of the major non-chemical, that is, biological intervention method. Other non-chemical methods include biological, physical, and ecological methods. So these are non-chemical methods which are of the first choice, definitely, against chemical methods, because chemical methods pose high risk not only to the environment, to the human being, to its wildlife, to the animal husbandry practices. So utmost care is taken, and the choicest is of using of non-methods. Pesticide selection. If at all we have to choose the insecticides or the chemicals, then care must be taken that IPM doesn't totally avoid the use of pesticides. When the alternative methods are not properly used, then the pesticides are used for pest control. The pesticides used, however, need to be specific as far as possible for the target organism. The pesticide shouldn't possess any threat to the health of non-target humans and the environment. Now, this although is very difficult to adhere to, but still care should be taken, utmost care should be taken that health of the human is not threatened, non-target humans, that is other animal and wildlife species, are not harmed, and of course overall the environment is not polluted by these chemicals. Anti-resistant strategies. IPM focuses on the anti-resistance activities such as unmanaged and haphazard use of pesticides have created the problem of resistance, and pests have developed the resistance, and the use of pesticides have less effect on them. This is also the major reason for the IPM. So because of the resistance and the resurgence of the pest, IPM strategy is being followed today. Anti-resistant strategies include use of combination of different pesticides that has different mode of action applied in different time. Evaluation. Evaluation is the important aspect of the IPM program. Evaluation is done based on the records of the use of pesticides, its effects, and many more. Evaluation is necessary in studying the effectiveness of the plant protective measures and plan further. Thank you. So this is in relation to integrated pest management. We'll talk a little more on this and then sum up the topic.